Have you ever thought about how a few simple words can change everything? Today, we're diving into how America's founders used just a handful of words to describe the brand new nation, and in doing so, revealed their completely different visions for its future.
So let's start with the big guy himself, George Washington. Now, he didn't call the United States a victory or a success or a done deal. Nope, he called it an experiment. Think about that for a second. It's this incredibly ambitious but also really humble way to frame the birth of a country. It basically says, hey, we think this will work, but the outcome is far from certain.
You see, for Washington, the whole American project was this one monumental test. This wasn't just about winning a war and going home. It was about proving a concept, a hypothesis, that people could govern themselves and that liberty could actually work. And they were doing it on a global stage, with the whole world watching. I mean, the stakes just could not have been higher. And that word, experiment, it is so crucial here. I mean, what does it imply? It implies risk, right? Uncertainty, and yeah, the very real possibility of failure. By choosing this one word, Washington is basically saying, look, we've started something incredible, but the job's not done. The outcome isn't guaranteed. It has to be proven day after day. So the bottom line is this. Washington's gaze was fixed completely on the horizon. It wasn't about patting themselves on the back for what they had just accomplished. It was all about the huge responsibility of what the nation could become. The real work, in his eyes, was just getting started. But here's the thing. Washington's view was just one perspective. How did other key leaders see the result of this exact same experiment? Well, their viewpoints were different, in some really subtle but honestly profound ways. Okay, so now enter John Adams. There is zero uncertainty here, is there? This is just a definitive, conclusive judgment. To Adams, the job was done. The revolution was an event. It had a beginning, it had an end, and guess what? It was a success. Period. End of story. And then you've got Benjamin Franklin. His statement is just as direct, but it feels, well, more factual, right? More grounded. It's a declaration of a specific result. We set out to achieve independence, and we achieved it. It's just a very clear-eyed statement of a goal being met. And when you lay it all out like this, the contrast is just fascinating. You've got Washington's aspirational view, this ongoing test. You've got Adams's definitive verdict on something that's over. And you have Franklin's declarative statement of fact. 3 leaders, 3 keywords, 3 totally distinct but essential ways of looking at the very same moment in history. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Which one was the right way to see it? So, to put it another way, while Adams and Franklin were looking backward at the result, at what was done, Washington was looking forward to the purpose, to what was still to come. It's really the difference between closing a chapter and writing the very first sentence of a brand new one. And as we're about to see, the new nation needed both of those things to happen. You know, it's these different perspectives that truly made these men the architects of this new nation. They were the brilliant minds who guided this entire movement, taking it from just a revolutionary idea and shaping it into a functioning reality. And each one of them played a unique and absolutely vital role. The source material we're drawing from actually names 4 key architects. We have Washington, the visionary, Adams, the pragmatist, Franklin, the statesman, and of course, Thomas Jefferson, whose voice we actually haven't heard from yet. And that brings up a really interesting question that's just kind of baked into the source text itself. We have 4 architects named, but we've only heard from 3 of them. So why is Jefferson on the list but not quoted here? You know, the text doesn't give us an answer, but it makes you think, doesn't it? Maybe his biggest contribution, at least in this specific context, was more in deed than in these kinds of summary words. So, after all this, what's the big takeaway? What's the point of comparing these different viewpoints? Well, it all comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea. That's it. It mattered. A lot. But it wasn't just one type of leadership that made the difference. It was the combination of them. You needed the forward-looking visionary to inspire everyone. You needed the guy who could declare success to keep morale up. And you absolutely needed the person who could just state the plain facts of what was achieved to ground the whole thing in reality. You needed the whole package. Because even with their different angles, they were totally unified in their goal. This singular, focused leadership, this fusion of different but complementary styles, was the real engine of the American experiment. It was the critical element, kind of like the secret sauce that made the whole thing work. And that leaves us with one last thought to take away from this explainer. If founding a nation was the great experiment of that time, what are the great experiments of today? Are they happening in technology, in social justice, maybe in global cooperation? And maybe more importantly, do we have the right blend of visionary, pragmatic, and declarative leaders, the right architects to see them through?